Welcome. Perhaps you have a digestive condition that you know of, or you have other immune issues or um, or general lack of wellness, and you're wondering if that could be related to leaky gut. Maybe leaky gut is something you heard of, but don't really quite know what it is. Or maybe you know a lot about what it is, but are looking for a broader approach to help leaky gut beyond simple supplements or nutraceuticals. Leaky gut is important to understand what leaky gut is and how it can affect you because the complications of leaky gut are nasty. So this is an important topic and why we chose it for today, and really as a way to give you a taste of what we learn in the Mastering Ayurveda Digestion and Nutrition course, our Digestive Health Coach certification course that we offer here at Joyful Belly, that will be starting in just a few weeks now, in the first week of October. So, with that, um, my my name is John Immel. That's me right there. Um, I'm the director and founder of Joyful Belly, and you may know that we are a school. We offer several certification courses in Ayurveda. In general, we take an advanced clinically focused, we offer an advanced clinically focused Ayurveda education. Now, a lot of times when people see the word clinical, they think scientific. I wouldn't say that. I would say that we use that word in the sense of practical and natural. That we do integrate science and really any modality or insight from any modality at all into our teaching. Our goal, as I said, is to be practical, to heal the client wherever it comes from. That's where we want to be, and so our courses do tend to um, and you'll see this in today's course, that we not only take a practical approach, but we're also a very common sense approach that I'm looking to give you insight so that you can understand how it works, not just come away with a list of solutions, but that you have an orientation and and a map. And that way you can be a little bit more creative with it, and understand the general principles. And I always think it's a heck of a lot easier to remember something when you understand it. And so with that, I'm going to aim for a practical and by that I mean clinical approach. So our courses tend to be rigorous. We do focus on quality teaching and also we offer a specialty in food, herbs, digestion, and nutrition. Part of Joyful Belly's mission is to bring Ayurveda to the public because it is so helpful and it is something people can do at home. And to me, that's amazing and wonderful. I'll just say one more thing about our courses so you know what we offer, and we'll get started with today's presentation. We offer a 2-year fundamentals course that then leads into the herbalist course and the Panchakarma cleanse specialist course. And that track teaches you all of Ayurveda's theory. And we also offer the Mastering Ayurveda Digestion and Nutrition course. And that's the course that is starting in just 3 weeks from now, or 4 weeks from now, first week of October. So if you are thinking about studying digestion and you want to either become a digestive health coach or just really understand the terrain of digestion, all the different kinds of imbalances of digestion from an integrative point of view, and be able to offer grassroots medicine that your clients can understand and integrate into their lives. I think Ayurveda is where it's at. I think Ayurveda offers some of the most profound and powerful digestive health and wellness solutions. It's certainly a specialty of Ayurveda, and it is a specialty of Joyful Belly as well. Just a note about my background and the background of Ayurveda, I just want to also say if this is your first um, time learning about Ayurveda, it's a 10-year journey. It's welcome. You're about to begin a 10-year journey. It's not. It is Ayurveda is something that you can know very easily, but participation in it grows with experience. And so I say 10 years, but it's really lifelong. I'm well beyond 10 years in my Ayurveda career, and I'm still learning profound things about it all the time. So it's a lot to take in. If you catch one or two sparks today, that's enough. Remember that we're not aiming for memorization of everything, but that you know how to think about this disorder. And then you can always go back and look up individual ideas, right? The ideas are ultimately very important because you have to do them. But what's most important is, again, the orientation, the map, the terrain. I'm going to say that Ayurveda is a medicine of feeling. Makes it differ from science, or modern science, is that it regards the nature of things. So Western medicine tends to look at particles and constituents, and Ayurveda looks at the nature of things. So that's why it's holistic, because it regards a thing's whole nature. You might say, if you're a philosopher, you might say that Ayurveda is realist. It would follow scholastic realism as a worldview. I would say that Ayurveda is language is the medicine of living things through simple understanding of its nature. All right, great. A little note on me. I started my adult career as a Harvard math major. I was traveling around the world for several years after running an internet.com company in the late 90s. I kind of had a dark night of the soul, started to travel the world, trying to discover and search for what? For humanity, meaning of life. I always had a humanist bent, even though I was a computer scientist and a mathematician. In fact, I studied math because I thought math was truth. And I thought it would help me understand the deeper truths of things. But really, the deepest truth that I wanted to understand was a person. And so eventually, I had to move beyond math and computers and take a more humanistic approach in my life. And so I started traveling the world. And by the way, I'm also an amateur linguist and speak French, Bengali. I studied Bengali for 10 years, and Arabic, and a few other languages. Um, but French and Bengali are my strongest second languages, Sanskrit and some Latin. And I was living in Bangladesh, working on filming a movie of Bengali folk music and working on a public health project with Columbia University, and really touring the whole city of Dhaka, Bangladesh, from the slums to the wealthiest households there. And I just got very sick. Like many of the Indian expatriates who come to this country and end up getting sick, I got sick from going over there, right? You go to a new culture, new country, far away from your home, and you catch the local parasite, right? So I was very sick, and that started my digestive tract issues. In fact, also my leaky gut. This talk is a very personal talk for me because I tend to have leaky gut, and I've had all the complications of leaky gut, and that prompted me and gave me a passion for Ayurveda and healing myself with Ayurveda, which I did. I've always loved cooking, and and so it was natural for me to choose a food-based medicine, although Ayurveda uses herbs as well. It uses herbs in a similar way that it uses food. Um, and yeah, now I spend all my time helping people understand how food can help them feel better. All right. So thank you for listening to that. Let's go into leaky gut. And we'll start with the definition. Leaky gut is named after or because it refers to food leaking into your body. We have to remember that the inside of our intestines, here's a picture of the intestines. You see the stomach here, the food goes in and goes around our intestines and then out the body at the bottom here. But all of what's inside this tube is outside of your body. And your body wants to maintain a barrier between the food and your blood. And make sure that that food doesn't get into your body except for what it wants to absorb. And when that intestinal lining, when the lining of these tubes breaks down, the food and whatever else is in your gut leaks into your body. In other words, leaky gut means that things are leaking out of your gut and into you. Okay, that's just you know, uh, that's why it's named that way. All right, so the problem is that your body doesn't want everything that's in your intestines. Otherwise, you would never need to poop, right? Typically, what happens is your body absorbs what it wants out of the food and then gets rid of everything else. But if your gut is leaky, then the food is leaking that your body doesn't want is leaking into your body. And so there are various toxins in your gut that could cause problems for you. For example, partially digested food could cause a problem. In fact, it provokes a food allergy. Bacteria that are in your gut could come into your bloodstream, and your body doesn't want the bacteria from your gut getting into your bloodstream. But also their waste products. I say bacteria poop and piss in a very sort of colloquial way because you just have to imagine that bacteria in your gut are eating, digesting food, and then eliminating also. And so they're eliminating their waste products into your gut. And then if your gut is leaky, those waste products are leaking into your blood and they're provoking all kinds of havoc in your body. And also any other toxin that you happen to ingest that your body would otherwise eliminate could end up coming into contact with your blood. Right, your body wants to keep toxins out of the blood, but in a leaky gut, they pass through this junction and get into your blood and provoke an immune response. So if we were to zoom in on the walls of that tube, you would see that I mean there are several layers here. This is an oversimplification, but basically there's cells that line your digestive tract and form a barrier between your blood vessels and the food that you ate. And you see these little tiny tabs here are like little areas where your cells are absorbing the food, right? I don't know if they're trying to represent villi here. Maybe this isn't the best image, but because there's all kinds of little villi, they're called, in your digestive tract, little I guess you might say proboscis, or things that are coming out from your intestinal wall, and they're lined with cells that absorb your food. So you have this tremendous surface area of your intestines that is absorbing your food, and um, and on each of those little fingers, you might say, that are absorbing the food, there's a cell wall between it and the blood vessel, between your food and your blood vessel, and that's what they're trying to show here. And you see on the left, this is a normal intestinal wall with the tight junction intact. See how these cells are kind of cemented and attached together at the site of the tight junction. But then when inflammation occurs, these cells are separated, and you can see stuff can leak from the food area into your blood vessel, right? So we see pictures of bacteria, virus, of partially digested food. See, this blue one is supposed to delineate a food allergen, and it's leaking into the blood vessel. Now you have a food particle in your blood vessel. What's your immune system going to do? It's going to attack it, and once your immune system attacks it, it's going to learn to attack it always, and you'll get a food allergy. That's the issue, right? Is that leaky gut lets all this junk in, And then your immune system starts to fight the junk and you get allergies. That's the problem. And of course, just having the junk in there also is a problem. So whether bacteria, food allergens, or what. So why do we why does leaky gut happen? Well, the first thing I want to mention about that is that really this was a modern problem. It was unheard of before the 20th century. Something we're doing is making us have a leaky gut. Now, I'm not going to say that leaky gut never happened before now. I'm just going to say it wasn't like a very common thing. It's more of a modern disorder. So, why? Is it because we have more allergies generally now that we have more inflammation in the gut? Is it because of stress? Is it because of vaccines? I mean, this graphic here implicates Western medicine in it. I want to say, by the way, and this is for our courses and for Joyful Belly, at no point should anyone think that I'm like anti-Western medicine in any of this. There's always this common thing of like, oh, if you're a holistic practitioner, you're anti-Western medicine. No way. I love Western medicine. There are things that that I do differently than it in certain cases. I think Ayurveda can improve on it in certain areas. But Western medicine has certainly improved Ayurveda as well. So let's all enjoy the ability to improve with different paradigms. Anyway, um, is it vaccines that are provoking allergies these days? Is it an exposure to environmental toxins? Is it Roundup in the DNA of our food, GMO corn, or is it because we're traveling more internationally, so we're in touch with more parasites? And also, I already mentioned stress, which I didn't put on this slide, but really I should have put it on the slide. Maybe we just have more stress now, so we have more leaky gut. Um, yeah. And what are some of the symptoms of leaky gut? Because some of you may be wondering whether you have it. And leaky gut is one of those, um, whenever you see the word syndrome, you're always going to be like, oh no, how do I know whether I have this or not? Right? Syndromes are named syndromes because they're it's not always exactly clear what specific cause, and there may not be a specific cause, but a whole pattern of causes. Syndrome suggests a pattern of symptoms. So, but loosely, what can we say about it? One, we know that if you have leaky gut, that your intestines are probably inflamed and that your body's probably a little toxic. So the symptoms are going to revolve around that. Maybe you'll have some soreness in your digestive tract or other signs of inflammation in your GI. And you would have other signs of toxins, like if your blood's very toxic, you might have your skin might appear lifeless, dull, or ruddy. I always think when a person has leaky gut, the typical thing is really a ruddy skin. That and what's ruddy? It just the skin looks a little rough, not just dull, but rough. Maybe a little puffy, and in addition to dull, puffy and dull. Maybe that's ruddy, but you may even have skin rashes. You may have other signs of toxins in your body, aches and pains, joint pains, headache. You may have bad breath or body odor. Um, yeah, you might notice that your mucous membranes are irritated or you get frequent colds. But really, how much more vague could I be, right? Like these are those symptoms could indicate many, many, many things, right? So how do we know whether those symptoms are leaky gut or not? If you have digestive issues and you find yourself getting allergic to more and more foods, and you have signs of toxins, you probably are going to consider leaky gut as a potential option. If all your problems started after you had got a parasite in Bangladesh, you're going to suspect leaky gut, right? Because because what happens is you'll get an infection or a parasite, and your intestines will be extremely inflamed for a short period of time. And then whatever you eat during that period of time comes into contact with your blood, and then you get a food allergy from to it. So yeah, if you find yourself allergic to all your favorite foods after getting a parasite or infection overseas, you probably have leaky gut. Hyperactive immune system, digestive disturbances, um, check leaky gut. All right. But it's going to stress out your whole system. And we'll walk through it a bit. But basically, uh, the symptoms are your body generally being stressed out and signs of toxicity. And that will clue you in. But let's just keep getting more specific with it, okay? What are some causes of leaky gut? Well, anything that would inflame your digestive tract. So maybe I should put inflammation right at the top here, but anything that inflames your digestive tract could break down that tight junction here and cause leakiness in your intestines. So what are some things that can do that? Well, direct causes of inflammation would be a hyperactive immune response. So you eat a food you're allergic to, your intestines are going to get inflamed. But if you're stressed, your intestines will get a little inflamed. If you drink alcohol or caffeine or eat other digestive irritants, your intestines could get inflamed. If you have exposure to, pesticides and preservatives, you can people can get very myopic and hyper focused on preservatives and stuff in food too. So I don't want to but yeah, if you suspect leaky gut, eat organic for a little bit and see if that doesn't help you out. One of the biggest contributors to leaky gut or digestive inflammation generally is gas and bloating. So gas and bloating is not considered to be that serious of a disorder in Western medicine, but in Ayurveda, we take it very seriously. Why? Because if you have gas and bloating, that means that bacteria are rotting the food in your gut. And if your gas is smelly, that means that the bacteria have already rotted the food in your gut. And now you have rotten food in your intestines, right? Just think about it. If you put something wet on your countertop and it was 98 degrees, within 4 hours, it's going to be rancid and unfit, unsuitable for eating. Well, that's what happens in your intestines very quickly. If you're not digesting your food well, the food is rancid, and then you basically ate, and it's equivalent to eating rancid food. So, so you get toxins building up in your body that just stress your entire system out, as I've already mentioned. Rule number one, anytime you have a digestive disorder, is get rid of gas. Eat foods that don't give you gas. And just watch the magic happen, right? You'll feel much better pretty soon. But any of these digestive irritants, exposure to preservatives, pesticides, etc., and parasites and infection are all potential sources of inflammation, as well as allergies and other autoimmune conditions. All of that can cause leaky gut. If you're taking some pharmaceuticals like NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like aspirin, can irritate and inflame your digestive tract, and even a single dose can cause leaky gut. Steroids and use of antibiotics can cause leaky gut. There are a number of different lab tests that you can take to determine if you have leaky gut. Typically, what you see is you'll take a pill that has two kinds of sugars in it. So one of the sugars is a very small molecule, and one of them is a very large molecule, and they're both indigestible. So what happens is and then they'll do a urine test. Now, if the small sugar molecule, that's the control, appears in your urine, you know that the person ate the pill, and now you see the sugar in their urine, and that's what's expected because the small sugar should go through the intestinal wall, no problem. But the large sugar is not supposed to be able to travel through the intestinal wall. You're supposed to poop that out, not have it in your urine. Well, if you measure the urine and find that the large molecules in the urine, that means that somehow that molecule passed through your intestinal wall and you have leaky gut. So it's a very simple test. Yeah, your primary care physician should be able to order that. It's a pretty standard test. You could just Google it and take it. All right, so this doesn't have to be a big mystery. If you think you have leaky gut, you can just get tested for leaky gut. What about prognosis? One thing I want to say about intestines is that your walls of your intestine, the epithelium, undergo mitosis faster than any other part of your body. In other words, that's the fastest repairing tissue in your body is your intestines. So you can heal leaky gut in most cases, and usually pretty quickly. Another thing about intestines that's worth mentioning is that intestines are ancient. You know, you pretty much have the same bowels as a salamander. So all this to say is that it's not like, a part of our, we as humans, we walk upright. And so like our skeletal system has some issues and we tend to get back injuries, knee injuries, etc. because, walking upright is on the evolutionary scale of things is relatively recent. But intestinal tracts are pretty old in terms of their development. And so a lot of the kinks are worked out. Still, you have to be nice to your intestines, but usually the prognosis is good if you treat them well. And of course, I mentioned already, Ayurveda has a specialty in digestion. And so I think Ayurveda has a certain ease with digestive issues that, um, that I think is very nice. All right. So I've said this before. I'll just say it one more time. When your gut gets inflamed, it's a breakdown of the gut barrier, and then your blood comes into contact with the partially digested food or bacteria or whatever else was in your gut, and that triggers an immune response, and then you become allergic to that thing. So, and then every time you eat that, you get more inflammation and more leaky gut and become allergic to more things. So very soon, if you have leaky gut, you become allergic to all your favorite foods, and that really stinks. So like I said, I had leaky gut and all my favorite foods, I can't eat them. So that's okay. I'm versatile. I can eat other foods. And also, I have really helped calm my immune system down through following Ayurveda, so that I have more flexibility. But all this to say is that leaky gut tends to cause food allergies, and food allergies tend to cause leaky gut, and you can get caught in a vicious cycle. So you really want to make sure you break out of the cycle by not eating foods that you're allergic to, by improving your digestion, etc. I also want to say that it's just worth noting in passing, since leaky gut is closely related to the subject of your immune system, that your gut is the biggest immune system organ. 70 to 80% of your immune system is in your gut. I think everyone should find that, just really surprising. I did when I first heard that. Even a small dose of a food you're allergic to increases permeability, histamines rise, serotonin, etc. And your immune system then generally becomes hypersensitive. So people who have leaky gut tend to get autoimmune disorders also, not just food allergies, but autoimmune. And your immune system, by the way, can also get exhausted. So I'm talking here about complications of leaky gut. And one of the complications of leaky gut is food allergies, general immune hypersensitivity, and autoimmune disorders, and also immune exhaustion, exhausting your kidneys, your cortisol levels, and also exhausts your liver. So the intestines are just the first barrier. And I think this is another part of the body that's very fascinating is the hepatoportal circulation. So what happens is your intestines absorb the food or food leaks through the intestinal barrier and gets into your blood. And then you have this whole separate circulatory system called the hepatoportal circulatory system that brings the intestinal blood into your liver so that it gets processed before it goes into the rest of your body. So the first barrier is the gut, and the second barrier is really the liver. And after it passes the liver, now it's in general circulation. So your body has two protective layers there before it releases it into general circulation. If you have leaky gut, what this means is you're putting more of a burden on the second barrier, more of a burden on your liver. Instead of your intestines preventing the absorption of toxins, your liver now has to process those toxins. And in the process of and in detoxifying that intestinal blood, the liver generates lots of free radicals and it releases more bile that irritates your gut. It becomes problematic. Free radicals cause more inflammation throughout the body, systemic inflammation, and bile is generally irritating. And that's why when the liver is overwhelmed, it causes pitta symptoms. Pitta is one of the three Ayurvedic doshas, and that's associated with heat and inflammation and fire. So leaky gut ends up causing a pitta disorder. Your liver may be working overtime to detoxify the blood, and that congests the liver and also exhausts it. And once the liver is completely overwhelmed, then those toxins enter the blood as well. Now, once the liver is overwhelmed, now our gut is overwhelmed, and we have leaky gut, gut's damaged, and now the liver's damaged. The toxins are in the blood, and once the toxins are in the blood, they have to get filtered by the kidneys. That damages the kidneys, or they get let out the skin, and that causes rashes and acne, or the skin of your lungs causing asthma. So what's the difference? Asthma is basically eczema of your lungs. There are several kinds of asthma, but in some sense, you can think of it as eczema of your lungs. And when your skin is releasing toxins because the liver couldn't detoxify your blood, it irritates the skin, but it also irritates the lungs as well. And that's why you would get irritated mucous membranes and postnasal drip and things like that. Toxins love to hang out in the joints because joints are poorly vascularized. There's very poor circulation in your joints. And so anytime there's toxins in the blood, they tend to get lodged in the joints. And that can lead to arthritis and rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune issues in the joints. Now, as I said before, leaky gut can cause more food allergies, and food allergies cause leaky gut. And altogether, the digestive tract is inflamed, and that makes digestion weak. And then when digestion's weak, you get more gas and bloating, which creates more inflammation too. Again, this can be a little bit of a vicious cycle, right? inflammation, food allergies, weak digestion, gas and bloating, kind of all causing each other in a pattern or in a syndrome. All right, good. So we've talked about the basic understanding of leaky gut and what's happening. Now let's look at a um, a treatment strategy that I would think of as an integrative strategy for leaky gut, 1 through 5 here. And then I listed some Western nutritional supplements, and I'll go through each of these in turn. All right, so step 1, you want to eliminate the causes of inflammation. Step 2, strengthen the digestion. Step 3, repair the damage to intestines. And this is where you see a lot of those Western nutritional supplements. So normally if you're looking at nutraceuticals, the nutraceuticals that you take for leaky gut are generally going to calm the immune system and repair damage to the intestines. But you see that we're going to take a little broader approach, and we're going to 1, eliminate the cause, 2, strengthen digestion, 3, repair the damage, 4, decongest and support the liver, because that's the liver that's getting attacked when the toxins enter the system, and 5, calm the immune system. So how do we eliminate causes? Well, the best way to eliminate, to find out which foods you're allergic to is to go on an elimination diet. In an elimination diet, you eat 3 or 4 foods only for several days, and you make sure that those foods are very unlikely to provoke allergies. So I think of chicken soup with carrots, celery, black pepper, or chicken soup with, potatoes with the skins removed, or something along those lines. Something very simple that few people are allergic to. Very few people are allergic to chicken, potatoes, and carrots. So you can live on that for a few days, let your digestive system heal, and then you'll be ready to start challenging your body, meaning adding foods back in. And when you get the symptoms back, now you know which food you're allergic to. See, the problem is that if you're allergic to dairy, wheat, and corn, and you're like, okay, I'm going to see if I'm allergic to dairy. I'm going to cut out dairy for a week. But meanwhile, you're still eating wheat and corn, your symptoms aren't going to go away. So you're like, oh, maybe it's not dairy. Then you remove wheat from your diet, but you're drinking dairy and eating corn. Your symptoms still don't go away. It's really only an elimination diet that gets rid of all the allergens so that you can have some confidence that you are not eating allergic food, and then challenge your system one by one. Generally, if you were going to really try to heal your gut, you would strictly avoid any allergens or anything that you suspect might be an allergen for like 30 days. But that's hard to do. It's hard to be on an elimination diet for that long. The other thing you're going to do is remove all digestive irritants, coffee, chilies, alcohol, NSAIDs, any digestive irritant, even highly acidic foods like tomatoes or citrus. Might be too much, might irritate your system. You're going to remove things that cause gas, like high FODMAP foods, like sugar, carbs. Basically, carbs are what causes you to have gas. And then you can also take herbs to kill any infection, like vidunga, cloves, thyme, neem, barberry, or golden seal. So this is all about eliminating the cause of the inflammation. You could say calm the immune system, but we'll have that a little later. All right, the next thing. So we've eliminated the cause. That's always the first step, is you eliminate the cause. The second step is we're going to build digestive strength. First, we're just going to completely clean out the GI with an enema or or purgation. So you can do a saltwater flush, or to flush out your entire small intestines, or castor oil. You can see Ayurveda. This is where you would do what's called panchakarma in Ayurveda, to completely clean out your intestinal tract so that your intestines can heal. And basically, you were very careful with your diet while you're giving your digestive tract a chance to heal for, 3 days or so. And that way, you've cleaned out your system, your digestive tract is repairing itself, and also during this time, you rehydrate. Generally, we're going to eat easy to digest foods. Means if we do have carbs like rice, if we do have carbs, they're going to be easy to digest foods like rice. Easy to digest carbs, not anything too heavy. If you're having carrots, there's some carbs there, but you should be able to digest those pretty well. Most people can digest those pretty well. Fruits are easy, but fruits can also um, cause gas. So you just have to play around with it a little bit in what causes gas in your system. But difficult foods like beans, peanut butter, steak, fried foods, wheat, and cheese, those can all provoke gas and make your digestive system very sluggish. You could check on Joyful Belly for, let me see if I can get this, get you the page for this. If you look on Joyful Belly, and I think it's, if you don't know about this, about Joyful Belly, but you can jump, you should know. If you jump right into diet and recipes, food, then you can click right here and you can select the kinds of foods that you want to look for. Foods with an easy, that are easy to digest. Okay? And you can see a whole list of them here. And you can even go further down from that. You can refine your search and say, oh, what type of food do I want here? Or what other characteristic do I want? I want just building food. I want nourishing foods. There we go. Easy to digest, nourishing foods. Almond milk, apples, avocado, banana, barley. Now, some of these, if they give you gas because their fruits can give you gas, you may need to stay away from them. But in general, easy foods should not provoke inflammation in your gut. If you have SIBO or a candida infection in your gut, you won't be able to have sweeter foods. You might choose some of the less sweet options, like fish here, or you can go through and see the options here. Okay. You can develop your sense around what foods are easy to digest with this simple test. Like if you eat fettuccine Alfredo, you know that you're not going to get hungry for many, many hours. So you know that's difficult to digest. If you eat a ton of beans, you're going to be satisfied for very long. So you know that's a little more difficult to digest. But other things like if you have a rice dish, you're going to be hungry within an hour. So that's easy to digest. Generally, you know what foods are easy to digest. If you get hungry quickly after eating them, they're easy to digest. But if you are full for a very long time, they're more difficult. Soups and baby food kind of things are pretty easy to digest. So you eat easy to digest foods while your digestive tract is rebuilding its strength. And, well, first you clean out your system, you rehydrate. Hydration improves digestion by up to 25%, just drinking a glass of water. So you want to make sure you're hydrated before your meals and then eat foods that don't provoke gas. Ayurveda has many foundations for healthy digestion, and that's part of what students learn in our digestion course, the 1-year digestion course. All right. The next step is to repair damage to the intestines. How are we going to repair damage to the intestines? Generally, we're going to reduce inflammation. We're going to follow a strategy to reduce inflammation in the gut generally. That's going to be astringent tasting foods like hibiscus that are also cooling. And then also some demulcent. Demulcent just means slimy. Like oatmeal is a little slimy, or aloe vera is slimy. Okra, tapioca pudding. All those, any kind of guar gum or pectin, like Jello. All of those are nourishing to the layer of mucus on your intestinal wall. And when that layer of mucus is restored, it's very soothing to the inflammation. So that soothing quality is what I'm referring to by demulcency. Demulcency repairs the mucosal matrix. That is the first line of defense for your intestines, is a layer of mucus. And cooked onions, cooked garlic, Hezekiah seaweed broth, and bromelain all have sulfated polysaccharides. Mucus is generally a polysaccharide. Those all have polysaccharides that can repair your intestinal mucosa. And aloe vera, you already can imagine if you've ever used aloe vera that it's a little slimy. And I've given you all the other ones here as well. But licorice root, slippery elm, plantain, all of those can soothe and repair the mucosa. Then things like hibiscus, coconut oil, pomegranate, cranberry, and blueberry, bitters like kale. These berries, by the way, are antioxidant. That's how they clean up inflammation. And kale can clean up inflammation by the bitter principle, reducing pitta generally in the body. Bitters stimulate the liver and gallbladder to flush bile, which cools the liver and gallbladder, and that's how pitta is reduced by bitter. So repair the mucosa, reduce inflammation, repair the tight junction. Hibiscus, turmeric, bone broth, and some of these Western nutritional supplements all help repair the gut barrier. Glutamine, glutathione, essential fatty acids. You notice I'm not focusing on this. Why? Because you can Google that, right? Just Google it or DuckDuckGo it. We repair the mucosa, reduce inflammation, repair the tight junction, and calm the immune system. There are various herbs that can help calm the immune system. Baikal skullcap is one of them that I even want to add to this list. Baikal skullcap, Guduchi, cilantro, all of them, those are hypoallergenic foods. And Joyful Belly should have a list of hypoallergenic foods on the website. It may just be calms immune system. Let's see if hypoallergenic shows up as a category. Hypoaller or calms immune. There we go, immune calming. So you can look here about how to calm your immune system. I think there's a pretty important article, and you can see I have a list of all different immune calming foods. So go check that out and see which ones you like. Again, you don't have to memorize the whole list. Pick 5 or 6 off of them that you think would fit your body type, and start there. Okay, I see in the chat some people are asking questions. Oh, I see a few questions have come up. All right, good. So yeah, Pauline says, how about your teeth? My biological dentist. What's a biological dentist? A biological dentist says bad oral health causes leaky gut. Yeah, any kind of inflammation and stuff in your mouth would confer to that kind of leaky membrane. But I'd like to hear more about what your doctor says about that. If you have any information on that, that would be great. Now we have astragalus. Also, astragalus can stimulate the immune system, but can also calm it. And we have other immune modulators like Ganoderma mushrooms, the shelf mushrooms, and Siberian ginseng, eleuthero. All right, so far we've eliminated the cause, killed the infection, removed irritants, found out our food allergens, reduced gas, easy to digest foods, cleaned out the intestines, rehydrated, and reduced inflammation, repaired the mucosa, repair the tight junction, and calm the immune system. Right? You see the difference when it's holistic? It's like we're going about all of these things. It's not just um, just repairing the tight junction. Pauline, how can you test? She asks, how can you test if you are producing extra bile? Well, bile's a laxative, so you'll have looser stools, and they'll be darker colored. But I wouldn't worry so much about producing extra bile. What you really want to make sure is that your liver's not inflamed, and that the bile isn't getting into your bloodstream and causing yellow in the corner of the eyes. All right, so let's keep going. In addition to all the things necessary to heal the gut, we also need to heal the liver from the assault. So mild bitters can do that, like cooked kale. Applesauce, cranberry, and pomegranate are sours that help the liver. Foods that are rich in beta carotene, like carrots, sweet potatoes, and beets, are also good for the liver. Then you have your hepatoprotectives, like milk thistle, licorice root, guduchi, and many others, yarrow. Coconut oil can also help. Coconut oil has small chain fatty acids that soothe the liver. And you're going to avoid nightshades and tomatoes and some types of ferments, not sauerkraut, but wine. Yeah. You'll aid your body in detoxifying by stretching. Olive oil's fine. Yeah, Zdenka. You can aid your body in detoxification by stretching, having a gentle stretching or exercise routine. By taking lymphatic cleansers like red root and turmeric, if needed. Vata people generally don't need to cleanse their lymphatic system, but Kapha people do. And you might take Triphala as a mild laxative and diuretic to clean out your system. One thing that you're going to want to make sure you're aware of is if you have leaky gut and toxins in your body, you're going to be peeing all the time because your kidneys are trying to flush the toxins out. And if that happens, then you want to make sure that you are staying hydrated, and you might even put a pinch of salt in your water as well. All right, so that is a 5-step process. Eliminate the causes, strengthen your digestion, repair the damage, support the liver, calm the immune system. Before I go, let's just talk about a spiritual interpretation of leaky gut, right? So we can just think about that. In a spiritual component of leaky gut is ignoring your gut feelings. In general, digestive disorders come when you ignore your gut. It makes sense. What does ignoring your gut mean, or ignoring your gut instincts? We know that there is a healthy way to do things and an unhealthy way. And society will often challenge that and say, oh, there's that's just a cultural paradigm. It's a social construct. You should go do that thing, right? And then you go and do it, and then the results are terrible and you become unhealthy, right? That kind of thing where you ignore your gut and do what your instincts tell you is wrong to do. Regardless of how you whatever theory you have, you may know something is not ultimately healthy. And if you leave that place of familiarity, if you leave that comfort zone, one of the things that happens is you feel stressed, and that attacks your nervous system, but it also attacks your gut. And so a spiritual component of digestive disorders generally is ignoring your gut feelings, um, leaving your comfort zone and leaving that place of familiarity, even when it comes to experimental foods or experimental vacations or experimental lifestyles. Leaky gut in particular also has a connotation of possession, right? That toxins have a personality and they're getting into your body. And so you're in a way being invaded spiritually when you have leaky gut. And having poor barriers in general, leaves you open to spiritual attack. So that would be at its highest level a spiritual interpretation of leaky gut. And so if you suspect that you have digestion issues, one of the things you can ask yourself is am I doing anything or living in a way that is unfamiliar, experimental, outside of my comfort zone? And if you get back into that place of familiarity and that place of safety, your gut may have a chance of healing faster. All right. Thank you all very much for coming to today's talk on leaky gut. This has been an hour-long presentation into leaky gut and a Ayurvedic approach, how we would handle leaky gut at the Joyful Belly School of Ayurveda. I also want to, in general, thank you for paying attention to your health. They say that disease is contagious, but health is also contagious. And when people see you getting healthy, if you learned one or two sparks today, that's amazing and wonderful. Hopefully you even learned more than that. But if you did learn one or two things today that you can use for your health, that's going to serve you the rest of your life. When people take our courses and they come out knowing hundreds and hundreds of ways to help them and their families feel better, that pays it for itself every single day of your life for the rest of your life. A higher quality of life, a longer life, and a happier life. And so when other people see you becoming healthier, they are inspired to become healthy themselves. And that is why I say health is contagious, not just disease. So I want to thank you all for bringing health to your community and to the ones you love. And I look forward to more chances to talk like this. And I hope to see you in the digestive course this season. Anyone who registers for the course in the next 24 hours, I will give you a $600 discount off of the course. So go ahead and register if you're thinking about it, and get that $600 discount and do this for the whole year. Learn fascinating things about your digestive tract for the whole year, and come out of it a healthier new you. A lot of people say that they put off education because usually because they're busy or they don't have the finance or their finances or they're waiting for things to change in their life. And I talk to many students every year who um, who are going to say, oh, well, next year things will be very different. Next year it's going to change. I will have, this is just a temporary, more busy this year, just temporarily. We see them next year and they're still busy next year. And if they have extra money, they use it on wonderful things. And so next year they may not have any better finances than this year. And so what is the change, right? If they're waiting for things to change, I think Ayurveda is the change. And it changes your life, it changes your perspective, and people start getting healthier. I've seen many people regret not studying Ayurveda, but I've never met a person who regretted studying Ayurveda 10 years later, 20 years later. And not many professions can say this, but 20 years later, people still love it. They're still glad they did it. And They don't regret a single thing. And Zdenka, thank you for echoing that. I see you saying that you did the other course and it was challenging. I did the payments, but I did it and I'm not regretting. Yeah, that's it. It is challenging, but anything worth doing is challenging. And you get so much out of it. It really is awesome. Yes, I will provide the recording. Look for it in the newsletter. One person asked, so I will provide that on Joyful Belly's YouTube channel. You can check out our YouTube channel. We've got lots of videos there. The website is thousands of articles. And we're always adding to it, adding to the features on the website. So all of that's exciting. And I look forward to our next talk together. Thank you again. If anybody has any questions, I'll take them now. All right, Luzia says, really would like to know why I cannot help me with Ayurveda for stress. Response to my question later, if possible. 75 years young, living the Ayurvedic way. Yeah, well, stress is very multifactorial. Mental health is a whole another matter. So ultimately, when you say stress, um, I'll just say one or two things about stress, okay? First of all, is that everything in life is effort. And so the illusion that we can reduce stress is pervasive, but it is an illusion. In the end, we have things we care about, and that stresses us out a little bit, right? So to eliminate stress, I think, is just chasing a red herring that is, in a sense, impossible. In order to have no stress, you would have to not care about anything. And so I never really talk about reducing stress at any point in any of our programs. I just don't think that way. I think what's much better is to have great stress coping skills. And lots of studies show this, that it's not stress that causes illness, but it's your coping strategy. If you look at stress with like, oh, that's awesome, I get to fix this. This is going to be a great challenge. I'm going to do it, blah, blah, blah. And you're just totally like it's just excited to meet the challenges of life. That's great. I mean, I look at some of these highly talented people, like I look at all the stuff Elon Musk can do in a day, and I'm like, if I can do what he does in one day in like a life and like my whole life, I'd be like, that's amazing, right? So people can handle tremendous amounts of stress and still be very healthy. So so the first thing I'm going to say about stress is I wouldn't necessarily try to reduce it. I would talk about your stress response. And in the end, how you respond to stress is a spiritual battle, right? What is your hope? What is your faith? What is your, what is your how do you handle the uncertainty of life? It, what's your faith and how do you handle the uncertainty of life? That's like the same question, right? So, so I'm going to say there may be a reason why Ayurveda doesn't reduce stress because stress is a spiritual battle, and no herb is going to fix your stress. Now, I can make your nervous system more resilient with an herb. I can tonify the nervous system. I can even relax the nervous system, but that's not going to take away stress. Does that make sense? And again, I don't even want to because you don't want to take away caring. It's not like we're cultivating indifference here. It's not like I want to live a life of indifference. So there's going to be stress. So we can we could talk more specifically, Lucia, but just, from the 10,000-foot perspective. All right. Tanya, what if the easy to digest foods leave you hungry with worse gas and burping? Then they're not, if they're making you gassy and burpy, then they're kind of in that sense not easy for you. By definition, a food is easy for you if it doesn't cause gas and burping. So white rice is an empty carb, and some people just don't do well with empty carbs. So try a low FODMAP diet. If rice gives you gas, Tanya, try low FODMAP diet. Amy says, thank you for the presentation. And Amy, you're welcome. I enjoy the opportunity to give it, and hopefully it's valuable to you. Will the deck be available? I won't give out the slides, but I will give you the recording. LLT says, if the gut can be healed, I presume you can get to the point where you aren't allergic to foods any longer. Yeah, after about 6 years, your white blood cells start to forget. It's the B cells of your immune system that memorize what to attack, and they decrease in number every year following following exposure. It's like if you were exposed to COVID, then you'll be immune to that particular variety of COVID for a while, but then slowly, you have less and less of the cells that remember. And after like 6 years, you could be vulnerable to attack again. Now, if you were exposed to that variety again within that 6-year period, even if you don't get any symptoms, their memory will be refreshed. How does Ayurveda help with things like H. pylori and C. diff? So, all right. So the first thing is, if you're asking about parasites, depending on the parasite, some parasites are not everywhere, right? Like a tapeworm. If you have a tapeworm, I would say, and especially any kind of helminth, any kind of intestinal worm, especially roundworms, they're just super easy to kill with pharmaceuticals, and those pharmaceuticals don't have a lot of side effects, like ivermectin. So, metrodiazinol and blah, 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 right? There's a bunch of great anthelmintics that don't have many side effects, and you just take it and kill it. There's no reason not to. Now, there are some things like H. pylori that are all over the place. And really with H. pylori, I would just kill it also, and then, keep my digestion strong so I don't get it again. H. pylori can be a little bit difficult to kill. I've killed it with herbs in my body, but I had to eat a very good Ayurvedic diet and take great, really great herbs for quite a while, and just I had to be really strict, and then I got over it. But I also think that with something like H. pylori, you can just kill it. Now, if you're getting a recurrent H. pylori infection over and over again, then you might need a different strategy. But I tend not to play around with parasites too much because they're living and they just adapt to your body and all that. So I will, you don't want to overuse antibiotics and just take an antibiotic every time you get sick or whatever. But if you tried a few times to kill it and it's not getting killed, just kill it with the Western medicine and then strengthen your digestion after that. We don't need to like try to force Ayurveda to fit in every single situation, but Ayurveda does pretty well for H. pylori, but you have to be strict. Yeah. What are my thoughts on antibiotic treatment with SIBO? So yeah, SIBO is an example of something that I would have to, if I worked really hard and couldn't get over SIBO and tested negative for all of the other, pretty popular, first you have to make sure that it is just SIBO and that it's not some other infection. But if you're doing everything right in Ayurveda, I might take an antibiotic for that, just so that you give your system a chance to heal for a few days. But that would really be my last resort for SIBO. Yeah. Any other questions about today? If one is following Ayurveda guidelines to heal leaky gut, how long does it take to heal? Well, like I said, intestines repair very quickly. Your intestines could be repaired within 3 or 4 days if you're not eating an allergen and the cause of the inflammation is removed. But if you have an infection that's hard to get rid of, you might not be able to get rid of it at all very easily. And sometimes you can't get rid of something just by taking an antibiotic either. Sometimes you have to do Ayurveda and the antibiotic at the same time. So, yeah. Yeah, and Luzia, you got rid of H. pylori with herbs and homeopathy. Yeah, that's like me. I did too, but I had to be strict. Maybe it was, I don't know how difficult it was for you. Can an endoscopy or colonoscopy make the situation worse? Generally, Kim, any question in that form, the answer is always yes. Like theoretically, the endoscopy or colonoscopy could aggravate your system in some way, irritate the intestinal lining and make it worse. But typically, when you do the enema or the purgation that comes along with endoscopy or colonoscopy, you're actually helping the situation. And Luzia has been studying leaky gut for 40 years. Awesome, Luzia. Any other questions I can help with? How is this for long-term Lyme disease? Well, long-term Lyme disease is another matter altogether. Um, yeah, I don't have too much to say about the long Lyme disease and leaky gut together, but I'm open to hear what you're thinking there. The relation between leaky gut and stomach ulcers. Yeah, stomach ulcer is a sign that your system has been inflamed for a long time and it's irritating to the point where it is causing a wound or a sore on your intestinal tract. So, yeah, if you have that much inflammation that you're getting wounds and sores on your intestinal tract, you may have leaky gut. LLT is saying, I appreciate your lectures and that you share your knowledge. Thank you. And someone said above here, um, thank you for sharing your information so freely. Mooley said that. Thank you for you share wonderful information so freely. Thank you. Well, you're welcome, both of you. And like I said, I enjoy it. Thank you to everyone. Oh, here's another question. Histamine intolerance and SIBO connection. Shortly after my digestive issues started, I began having sinus and congestion issues. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you have a reaction to histamines, then you're going to have probably a similar reaction in your gut. And inflammation in your gut will make your digestion weak and predispose you to more SIBO. And SIBO predisposes you to more histamine intolerance. Anything else? Good. Yeah. So you can, and there are herbs that are antihistamine, anti-mast cell degranulation, all kinds of stuff like that. Pauline, I am available for consultations. Typically, you can write to study@joyfulbelly.com and request a consultation. Typically, I meet with the client on the third appointment. The first two are with graduates from our course, not just um, not just a randomly selected graduate, but we have um, but our top students work in the Joyful Belly Clinic, and so you'll meet with them for the first two appointments, and in the third appointment, I will join in and review the work from the graduate and review the case and add my own, you know, recommendations to it. Heavy metals were not on my list of causes. Well, yeah, I mean, that was kind of in the et cetera for preservatives, environmental toxins. Yeah, heavy metals are definitely in there. 1 year after COVID-19, Sahil got the symptoms of leaky gut and allergy to wheat. And following Ayurveda guidelines to heal, would fasting be recommended? Generally, Sahil, I would say elimination diet, yes. Fasting, no. Ayurveda is not big on anything harsh. Like we don't run marathons either. We don't fast. We don't run marathons. Now we might trim up the diet a little bit or whatever, but not a fast. It's harsh. We might do a cleanse, but not a fast. You're welcome, Sahil. How else can I help? Any other questions? All right. Thank you, everyone. Great group. Lots of good questions. I really appreciate that. That's awesome to get all of your questions. And I look forward again to our next time together. Hope to see you in the course. Bless you all and have a wonderful rest of your evening.